Okay. It's a bit cut off on the bottom. Oh, okay. Well, I have to have this angle just to work at the wall here, but let's see. This is mostly where we're gonna be working from. Looks good? Okay. Great. It's a bit of a glare over here. Okay, it's a bit better, I think. Okay. Okay, welcome. This is our last class of the year, and hopefully you have a little bit of wall space to work with. Width-wise, you need at least 3 feet, and up about 5 feet. So as long as you have that much clear or somewhat clear, that'll work. Hopefully no pictures or anything breakable in that kind of 5x3 area on the wall. Let's start with our warm-up exercise before we get into that stuff. So looking to the right, come on the balls of the feet. And look forward, come down, looking left, come up. And forward, looking right. Forward and left. And forward. Now keeping the heels down, look up. Center, down, center, up, center, down. Back to center, lean the head to the right, and to the left, and to the right. This time chin up a bit, and down a bit, and over to the left, chin up a bit, and down a bit, and back to center. Half circles with the head. Then center. Please take your thumbs in a light fist. Elbows bent. Let's roll the shoulders back. Then forward. Then change it to the collarbone. Roll the elbows forward. And back. Release, shifting to your left foot, lift the right. Shift to your right foot, lift the left. And back to center. Big arm circles forward. And back. Thumbs in a light fist, elbows out, circle in at the elbow joint. Other way. And interlace the fingers, wrist rolls. Other way. And some waves. Reverse. And rubbing the palms. Hands to the kidneys. Take the hips around. And then the other way. And back to the center. Shift to your left foot. Right leg comes across and opens out 3 times. Then inwards. Okay, another leg opening out. And in. Okay, and then heels together, toes together, rub the palms again. Bend the knees, rub the knees. Keeping the knees together, take them around. Other way. Standing up, ankle rotations. Other way. Other foot. Other way. Okay, and then heels together. Feet angled out, lift the toes, relax the arms, gently twist side to side. Back to center, heels out, feet parallel. Bend the knees, drop the tailbone and ground yourself. Rock gently forward and back. And back to the center. One leg with both arms and the other. All right, and then shaking it all out. Shake it out. Again, and shaking it out. Okay. So we're gonna get started. The first pose is actually legs up the wall pose, which is sometimes what we end in, but there's a very active way that you can use legs up the wall pose. So if you would, find your way to the wall. Now once you're in this position, you don't have to worry much about seeing me, so as long as you can hear me, you can go from here. It doesn't change much from this position. So sitting, the legs up the wall. Now, I've been doing this pose for a long time. I still need about 6 inches of space, especially this early in the practice. So you don't have to be right against the wall. If you're really flexible in the hamstrings, you might be able to sit against the wall. Now this pose, if you just relax in, is a very good pose to finish class in, but we're going to work it at the beginning of class in a more active way. So starting with the toes, flex your toes towards you, and we're going to bring the femurs in, press your inner thighs towards the wall, heels up the wall. Keep pressing the inner thighs towards the wall, but drop the sits bones, those 2 bones you sit on, drop them towards the floor. Bring the tailbone into the floor. We want to create a little bit of a space under our low back without lifting the hips. And you notice if you create that little bit of space, even if you can't get the space, just the action of trying to create that space under the low back can stretch deep in the hamstrings. Now keeping the legs working like this, take your arms up as if you're holding a yoga block between your palms. Keep your shoulder blades down your back, and then keep the palms the same distance as you reach over top until your thumbs touch the floor shoulder width. Try to keep the arms straight. If you can't, you might have to bend your elbows. From here, if you can, bring your baby fingers towards each other to turn the palms flat. So the hands are still shoulder width, turned in, palms flat, shoulder blades down the back, and perhaps you lost the work in the legs, re-engage the legs as we did. And hold here. And if you think about it, this is very much like the downward dog position, kind of inverted. See if you can get your heels down in this downward dog, so to speak. Good stuff. Now lowering the arms down, bending the knees. Just hug your knees in towards you. I should mention, if for any reason you can't work at a wall, you just don't have that space wherever you're practicing, you'll still be able to practice most of the stuff just in a modified way. But if you can use a wall, we're gonna have a lot of fun. All right, let's come around and find a kneeling position, puppy pose, but have your feet touching the wall. Puppy pose, you probably want to watch first though. The puppy pose, you take the arms forward, keep the hips over the knees, but with the wall, you have the option to take one leg up. Keep the hips flat and just reach back and up. Okay, you could try that or just keep a regular puppy pose. Okay, so forehead down, try to keep your elbows up, right leg up and back, maybe up the wall. You might have to shift forward a little bit if it's a little too tight. Straightening through that back leg, long through the arms, palms flat. Okay, other leg. And lowering that side, and walk the hands in and to all fours. Now bring the hips forward into a kneeling push-up position. Have the core engaged, tailbone tucked. Then slowly lower to halfway down. Hold for a breath. Then all the way down. Elbows in, point the toes. Neck long, curl up to a light cobra. Shoulders back. Deep breath. And slowly releasing down, reach your left arm out and peel up the right side of the body, opening up the front of the shoulder. Same as usual. To go deeper, roll that shoulder back and down, shoulder blade down the back. Keep the extension through the fingertips. All right, coming back to flat. Left hand in, right hand out, and then peel up left side. And then coming back to flat. Hands under the shoulders, curling up into a light cobra or coming into upward dog. And then downward facing dog. Scoot forward away from the wall a little bit. Maybe bent knee down dog first. Walking the dog. Okay, now we're going to come forward into plank, but for a minute come down because we want to have our heels right at the wall. So take your feet against the wall. Feet can be together or slightly apart. Then find plank again. Now if you're having trouble here, you can have your knees down. But try to keep pressing your heels into the wall, especially your inner heels, as you lift through the inner thighs. Now keep your heels up the wall as you come back to down dog. Now from here, we're going to bring the right foot forward into a lunge. The left foot stays at the wall. And use the wall as something to push into, to really work on the extension through the back inner heel. You might come up onto your thigh. You could come into slalom position or reaching up. Keep working that wall, that back leg. I should mention, ideally your back toes should point kind of forward. In some cases, some people can't flex their toes up, in which case then you have to be all the way up the wall with your foot. Now from here, bring your hands down without leaving the wall at all. Like your foot's glued to the wall, lower your back knee. That's it, sink the hips forward. Okay, and then bringing the hands down. The right leg back. The left leg's coming forward into the lunge. Now with the right foot pressing into the wall, especially the inner heel. Again, toes should somewhat point forward. Be tucked forward. You might come up onto your thigh or reach up high. Again, still working through that back inner heel. Okay, bring the hands down. Keep your back heel into the wall. Lower your back knee. Sink the hips forward. See how if you press it back through that back inner heel, in this position, it engages that right leg a little differently. Okay, and then bringing the leg back, and then come forward a little bit and back into downward facing dog. Maybe walking the dog. And then bend the knees back down. Turn around so that you're facing the wall. Bring your right foot forward near the wall. The position we want to find basically is a lunge where the crown of your head is pressing into the wall. So we have the wall to lean into while we hold this lunge position. So see if you can find this pose at the wall. Straight line from the crown of the head through the back heel. And then from there, lower your back knee down, come up onto your thigh, hands to the wall to stay nice and upright. Tuck the tailbone. Okay, and then Coming back, switch sides, left leg forward, lean crown of the head into the wall. And then from there, coming up into regular low lunge. And this gives us the opportunity to really extend the spine in the pose. Arms back if you can. And hands down, lower your back knee, tuck the tailbone, sink the hips forward. Maybe coming up. Okay, and then hands down, leg back, and coming into downward facing dog. From here, we're gonna bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, or jump towards the top of the mat. Inhale, flat back, but we're gonna move it to the wall so that the crown of the head, once again, extends into the wall as we press the inner thighs back and extend through the spine. Let's hold this a little longer. Okay, bend the knees. You may push off of the wall to come up. Now turn around. And we bend the knees and ragdoll forward, this time sitting a bit into the wall. This might feel better or maybe not quite as good as the one without the wall, but it's nice to know what works better for you. I find not much of a difference personally. And pressing up. All right. I should mention when you work with a wall, if you have a white wall, it's going to pick up a lot of handprints from the oils in your hands, so you might wipe your wall after. Definitely go with a more glossy paint in your yoga room if you're going to use the wall a lot. I've learned that the hard way. Okay. Oh, if you need a little sip, get a little sip. All right, now we're going to take a wide stance on our mat, but this time have your have one of your feet against the wall. Doesn't really matter which one. The whole outer edge of the foot should be against the wall floor corner. And ideally, you want both your feet on the mat so you don't do an involuntary splits. Never a good idea. Now turn your toes out on the foot that's not at the wall. Should be a wide stance. It's part of the hardest part of this pose, really, is just getting your feet wide. Now the right, or the hand that's near the wall, comes to the wall flat. The other hand comes up, and then bend into that front leg without letting your palm come off the wall. And this keeps you in an upright position. The wall you can also push into with your right foot to extend that leg. Just an all-out great alignment tool for Warrior 2. Okay, now straighten that front of the leg. Release the arms for a moment. And then bending again into that left leg, leaning this time, reaching over, extended side angle. And again, now you have the wall to press into, and you can see how we push out of that foot into the wall as you reach in the opposite direction. And you get this full long line of energy reaching out. Come back leg, drive yourself up, toes in. You're gonna switch to the other side for those same two poses. Left foot comes to the wall, Right leg out. Nice wide stance. Left palm flat at the wall, right arm up, and then bending into that right leg. Okay, straighten that front leg for a moment, release the arms. Keep the outer wall foot pressing into the wall, bend into that front leg, extended side angle, reaching in both directions. Neck and back of the leg. Coming up. And bringing the feet in. Okay. Now we're going to use the wall for tree pose next. So we come about, so this is what it's going to look like basically. Is the knee is touching the wall. So you have to find the exact right distance so that you can really press into the wall in tree pose. Now, obviously this is now much easier for balance, but now we're not working as much on balance as the hip opening and extension. So it's just a different focus for the pose. So yeah, it will be less challenging in a way, but hopefully more challenging in another way. So take one leg to the wall, find this position if you can, if you haven't already, and use the wall to push out into. I like to almost imagine that this is the floor and I'm balancing there. So imagine how much you'd have to push out to be balancing just on that knee there. And really, the comfort or whether this pose just feels useless is really if you have the right distance. If you have the wrong distance, it can feel like you're falling into the wall or that you can't reach out. So it should feel pretty comfortable and pretty nice, pretty expansive if you have the right distance. Now let's change sides. Once again, use the wall to press into. Draw that knee back, keep that hip forward. Okay, and releasing from there. Next, we're going to come into a wall push. So we're going to stand facing the wall and take our hands at chest level and slightly lower. And the hand formation should be like you're going into downward dog, okay? Then we're going to walk back from there. So again, hands just below chest level, shoulder width, and then walk back like we're going into downward dog. If you're a little more flexible, you might take your hands a little lower. You can still work with your knees bent if you usually do in downward dog. You might still need to. Now from here, bring your feet a little closer together. And then see if you can swing your left leg back behind you. I have to shift a little, do this space. Here. Now from here, with the left leg back, see if you can take your right arm back to airplane wing position. And just balancing here for a minute. Not quite a minute. Okay, right hand back to the wall, left foot back down. All right, let's just take a breather for a second. Okay, Again, wall push, wall down dog. And shifting now to the left foot. Right foot's back, possibly left arm back. And then lowering the leg, coming back upright. Great. All right, if you want a sip of water, get a sip of water. This is what the next thing is going to look like. It's a sun salutation, but when we get to the downward dog, we back it, the heels up to the wall, take one leg up the wall, and stretch it up the wall. You might even walk your hands in if you have more stretch capacity. Okay, we'll hold for 5 breaths both sides. So let's start with a sun salutation. Once we get to the down dog, we'll give that a try optionally. Okay, from here, inhale, sweep wide and up. Firm the legs, exhale, dive forward. Inhale, flat back. Exhale to fold, bend the knees, plant the hands, step walker, jump back. Lower either halfway or all the way down. Inhale, up dog or cobra. Then exhale, downward facing dog. And let's take our right leg up the wall. Sorry, make sure your heels touch the wall first. Take the right leg up the wall. If your hamstrings are tight, you might have to come a little forward. Again, if your hamstrings are nice and loose, you might walk your hands in, take your leg higher. Okay, change legs if that applies. Okay, that leg down. Good, bend the knees, look forward, step walker, jumps to the top of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, sweep wide and up. Exhale, namaste. All right, good stuff. Now, I'm going to show you a cool way to do triangle using the wall. In case you don't have a yoga block, or in case you need like 2 or 3 blocks, you can use a wall very nicely. So let's set up with the right foot about a foot away from the wall. Left leg, a nice long stance. This is triangle pose. So back toes turn slightly in. Keep the legs straight and toned. Tilt to the right, keeping the legs straight, and then reach and press into the wall. Now you might realize, oh, I'm too close, or I'm too far. So modify. Come up. You might shift a little bit, and then tilt again. But you want to be able to keep your legs straight and your spine straight, pressing into that wall. You might reach up still. Now I can go fairly deep in my triangle if I want to, but if I work nice and high, I can still tone some of the subtle muscles that are sometimes neglected in this higher position. So even if you don't need the wall, it can help you to bring more consciousness and just to work muscles in a different way. Okay, and then coming back up. Now, keep your feet as they are for now, but except the back foot's going to come in a little bit and turn the toes in a little more. Facing the wall, bring your right hand to your right hip, left hand up. Fold forward, bring your left hand to the wall. Same idea. Using the wall as a bit of support. This is a revolved triangle without really the revolved part so much. But keep your right hip back, left hip forward, so your hips are squared to the wall, or to some degree at least. Long spine. You might bring your right shoulder up and look up. You might even reach up, but it's not really what we're focusing on today. Use the wall to really lengthen out through the spine. Okay, and then coming back up. Let's do those same poses other side. So left foot forward, right leg back, nice wide stance. Back toes turn slightly in, arms up, reach forward, and pressing into the wall. Triangle pose variation. Back leg, slowly coming up. Bring your back foot in a bit, turn the back toes in, turn to face the wall. Keep the legs straight, the spine straight, tilt forward. The right hand comes to the wall. Keeping the hips flat and square. You might draw your left shoulder up. You might even reach up. You should keep your back heel down. And unwind. And up. Okay, now with the feet wide, we're going to do a forward fold. If I had more wall space, I would take my feet about 6 inches away from the wall and forward fold from there. So I'm kind of sitting into the wall. I could be in like a downward dog position, but I don't have the wall space for that. Really, oh, that was working pretty good. So you might just take your regular wide-legged forward fold. You can do it as a wide-legged down dog or a deeper forward fold to your capacity. If you're able to work against the wall, keep lifting your sits bones up the wall. Keep sitting back into the wall, pressing your thighs towards the wall. And walking the hands in, bringing the feet in, and slowly drawing yourself up. Okay, now we're going to go through a sun salutation, but instead of working on the down dog, we're going to work on the up dog, but we're going to do heel up dog with the heels against the wall. Okay? Actually, let's just go right into it. So let's find plank at the wall. Heels pressing into the wall, inner heels especially, and then lower the hips into heel up dog. So work the wall, work your core, inner heels hammering into the wall. And then back to down dog when you're done. Maybe it took you a minute to get there, so I'll give you some time to finish. Okay, and then bend the knees down. Okay, now this is optional. You can sit this one out if you like. You can do it on your forearm, modify as needed. But basically, you take your feet to the wall in side plank. You take one leg up nice and high, and it's a super fun side plank wall variation. So feel free to give that a try if you want. Just hold for a few breaths each side. Again, you can modify on your forearm. Take your time with this one. We'll take a little water break after this. All right. Water break. Then find, please, Malasana at the wall. So this is garland pose. This is that squat, but against the wall. It's a little bit different when you use the wall. Definitely more sustainable. Definitely helps you get the heels down. It definitely keeps you from falling over. Now, if you find that crow pose is an intimidating pose, there's a way you can do it if you spin around where you're much less likely to hurt yourself. Because if you go the right distance from the wall, you can't fall forward because the wall stops you. Okay, so that's one way that you can use the wall. Now, the next pose that we're going to do is can be a bit deep. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping one. First, we got to do goddess pose at the wall. So set up, feet wide, knees out, sitting down into goddess pose. You can rest the weight of the upper body into your legs, or you can sit back. We're going to hold for about 7 or 8 breaths. See if you can do it. Although your spine, low back should generally come forward away from the wall, see if you can do it with your low back against the wall. Although, like I said, that's not the natural position you'd usually have. It's a bit of a curve forward, but it's often over accentuated. Okay, now straighten the legs. Okay. Now, next exercise, the easy version, we kind of already touched on, we kind of already did. You'd step one of your foot lengths forward from the wall, bend the knees and ragdoll forward. The much more challenging version is to take that same distance from the wall, bend the knees, ragdoll forward, lean into the wall with your upper back, slide down the wall, and then start to straighten your legs. So this is a pretty deep hamstring stretch. If you can get your heels down, go for it. This is a fairly deep, intense pose. So feel free to do the easier version. I like to keep my knees good and bent, then I can do this one even. I'm coming up, but take your time. Okay. Next, let's come down to kneeling with the back to the wall. We're going to come into a downward dog variation using the wall. So feel free, though, to use the wall in the same way that we did before, or just hold it downward dog. So you could do downward dog with the heels up the wall, or step up about a leg length with both feet, and now you're in an upside down inverted downward dog. Okay, watch out for the tendency to be in a straight line. You want to keep that 90-degree angle and hold. When you're done, just come down onto your knees and sit back. All right, I'm going to assume that you're finished by now. Next, I'm going to take you in the easiest way possible. Some of you could probably just jump right into it, but let's just take it nice and slow. So coming down onto the forearms, back up so that your feet are touching the wall. Then take your left leg up the wall and slide it down the wall until it's on the floor against the wall. So your knees down, ideally on your mat because you want some softness there, against the wall on the floor. Next step, come up onto your fingertips. Maybe this is as far as you go. I've seen some grimaced faces in this position before for sure. Some people can come up a little higher. If you have a yoga block, you press up on that. But you could also take your foot forward and see if you can come up onto your thigh. It's a big leap from the previous position. The next step is to bring your hips against the wall. Now your heel has to be beside your hip. And then the next step is to take your arms just like we began, and legs up. You turn the palms in at the wall like so. But anywhere in the spectrum, I find if you're newer to the pose, you'll probably be more like right here. And believe it or not, this is a variation of pigeon pose, but it's focusing on the back part of pigeon, the flexibility you need in the back part of pigeon. Now to come out, hands down, front foot goes back, elbows down, knee forward, other leg, knee up, slide down, fingertips, you can stay there, foot forward, on the thigh, or reach up high. Okay, hands down, knee forward. Good stuff. Now the next pose is camel pose. If you know it, it's easier from this position if you have your heels against the wall. If you want it to be a little harder, if you're good at back bending, then point your toes to just your big toe touches the wall, or maybe more toes depending on how your toes are. Okay, knees hip width. We come up, keep the hips forward, tuck the tailbone, lean back till the crown of your head comes to the wall. If you want to, you could take your hands above you, bring the crown of your head to the wall, and then bring your hands back to your hip. It's a pretty good stargazing posture. Try to feel that line of energy from the knees to the crown. Remember the first time I did this pose, it was so overwhelming. Couldn't hold for more than a few breaths. Keep pressing the wall to come out, or use your feet to push away. So yeah, that can be a bit intense because it makes you breathe more deeply into your upper chest. And anytime you change your breathing, it can sometimes create some anxiety in the body too. So you might have felt a little bit of that in that pose. Okay, what's next? Baddha Konasana. Cobbler's seat, this time sitting tight to the wall. Now, if you're practicing with someone beside you, you're going to have a tough time finding knee real estate. Oftentimes, though, I find couples, the ladies' knees will be lower than the husband's, so they tend to fit like a jigsaw puzzle a little bit. Sitting up tall, lower back forward, feet pressing into each other. Now, to take this a little bit deeper, this is a unique opportunity because we have the support for our low back. You take your hands just above the knees, and then we're going to lift with the legs but resist equally with the hands. So it looks like nothing's happening, and you don't have to use even much force, but you can use quite a bit if you want. And then on the exhale, you relax and just gently press your legs lower. And then without letting your legs come up, do it again. Inhale, lift, but resist. Exhale, relax, and you can actually physically see my legs go lower as I do this. One more time. And release. Great stuff. Okay. Bring the knees up. Okay. Oh, coming around. There's one more downward dog variation I'd like to show you guys. If you like, you can give this a try. But basically, you find that inverted downward dog, and then you take one leg over to this kind of splits-like position. It's a lot of fun if you have an easy time in the inverted downward dog. If, however, that looks like madness to you, then coming into down dog, we take one leg up and over. Okay, other side. All right. And coming on down. Now we're going to do pigeon pose using the wall from the back. So we bring left knee to the wall again, right leg forward into pigeon pose. And you can still do the upright or the bowing pigeon, but now the back knee is against the wall. If you try this and it doesn't feel comfortable for your knee or low back or pretty much anything, you can do the other version if you want. Okay, other side. Okay, and slowly coming out. Now this particular pose is tricky to find. A lot of people can't get it the first time. Sometimes it's just that your feet don't have the dexterity or the flexibility to even do this position. But it's very much like wide-legged child's pose. But I'll show you the position. You can try to find it if you want. Basically, if you're in child's pose, your feet would be pointed like this, right? Toes together, knees wide. In this position, your feet, instead of being pointed, are like this, with the heels together, like that, in child's pose. But instead of me having this part of my foot on the floor, that's going to be on the wall. My knees are going to be on the floor. So basically, this formation at the wall, like that. If you get it, it's super intense. Very deep and unique stretch in the hips. If you can't get it, just take extra wide-legged child's pose. Now what your arms do, don't worry about that. Just if you can get your legs in position, that's that's great in and of itself. That's the point. Tucking the tailbone. Now sometimes I see this with people's heels up high. Eventually the inner heels are on the floor. Balls of the feet against the floor with the toes pointing in opposite directions. Yeah, it seems fairly simple, but it's pretty tricky. All right, now from here, pressing up, coming up, coming out. Okay, and time. Oh, geez, that's time. Holy smokes, I wasn't even watching the time. So let's do. Let me just show you how to finish today. Let's take a little twist first to the right. Time really flew today. Jeez. And take a little twist to the left. Okay, now to finish, if you have the space, you take your legs up the wall pose, legs wide for as long as you comfortably can, and then feet together. And that's how we'll finish today. Okay, I'll leave you to it because we are over time. But thank you so much for joining us today and hopefully working with a wall. I hope you enjoyed it. Lots of cool stuff you can do with the wall. Lots more to show you. We can work with the wall again. This is our last class of the session, the last class of the year. So have a happy holidays, and I hope to see you again in the new year, new session. Thank you very much. Namaste.